People walking around this building, it looks very simple. It's a very complicated building, and all three structures are a different type of construction. So you've got the youth hostel, which is traditional block, dense blocks with in situ slabs. The office area is steel with metal decking, in situ concrete, and then the area behind is actually heavily reinforced in situ concrete. All three move different, and then they're joined together with a glass box. So I think the hardest bit was actually designing it to make sure it all fits together, and it ultimately didn't leak, because one of the main challenges up here has been the weather. You know, every time people come up, it's been sunny, not when we've been here for 90 weeks. On here you've got 6 or 7 different envelope treatments. In areas you've got up to 5 different materials meeting each other, which is always a challenge. You've got differential movement. You've got 3 distinctly different methods of construction which involve 3 different subcontractors and a lot of trades just to actually build the structure. So on here what we actually had to do, we had to firstly build the structure. We then had to actually cover the structure. So in some ways we've actually got a Hollywood facade. So you've got a structure which would stand by itself fully watertight, and then we've actually embellished it with all the local materials: sandstone, windstone, larch, grass, flowers and glass. The actual methods of construction I've done plenty of times, but I've never actually been involved with a building where you've had so many different materials on a building and so many different shapes, sizes. The standing joke in here is if we've built it square, we've built it wrong, because there's nothing square and there's very little flat. It's curved, it's obscure angles. You know, the main roof isn't flat because it actually, as you go up the roof, it curves for drainage. It's just very intricate. No matter whatever was thrown at we managed to finish it. You know, as a team, we've done that. You literally give your life to building a job. It becomes all-consuming, and we got there.
The Heritage Lottery funds the heritage elements of our everyday lives. It's the landscapes, it's the buildings, it's the cultural traditions, it's the intangible heritage, you know, those memories that get lost and those dialects that disappear. We do a lot of work with school groups and education through our projects, and we encourage people to become involved, get communities involved, get people involved, and protect the heritage for the future. In 2015, the Heritage Lottery Fund, through funds raised by the National Lottery, actually provided funding, £7.8 million worth of it, to develop this project and also to build this fantastic building. This wonderful idea of developing a landscape discovery centre in Northumberland to act as a gateway to the National Park. It's took a long time in getting here. We're anticipating somewhere in the region of 100,000 people a year will use this centre. The community here is very spread out, and I think this will be a gateway for the community to link to. It will provide rural business support. It's providing hopefully an economic boost to this particular area. It's the only National Landscape Discovery Centre in the whole of the UK, and you know, it's a first. And I think a lot of people will be watching how this develops and how it works. I think National Lottery players should be very proud of this, because at the end of the day, it's their funding that's actually made this possible.
I can understand why people might ask, why are you building the largest ever capital project in one of the most rural national parks in the UK? And there's very good reason for that. One is because we're in perhaps one of the finest landscapes in the UK. Northumberland is a place apart. The Hadrian's Wall corridor, where the Sill is an exceptional part of our national park. Because when our partners joined us, when they saw our vision, it became larger than the sum of its parts. You know, some of the best advice we got as a National Park Authority at the beginning of the Sill project was, make it bigger than the National Park, make it bigger than the National Park Authority, make it something which is of national significance. And, well, as you look around you, I hope we've done that. The idea for the project goes back to the heart of what national parks are about, really. It's about preserving what's best about our countryside and our natural heritage, and giving people the opportunity to engage with it, to have their lives enriched by contact with nature in the countryside, particularly young people, to develop a generation with our countryside, with our landscape, in a way that enriches their learning, how they spend their recreational time, and their overall well-being, their health and well-being as a whole. Looking back, I don't think you realise when you set out on this journey just how many teams are going to be involved. You think it's you and your little team around you who are coming up with this idea. To some extent there's truth in that, because it's been a relatively small team in the National Park Authority, with the support of our members and some of our close partners, that have really driven this. There are many teams who have come and gone, financial teams, grant funding bodies that we've worked with, the design team, our wonderful architects who designed this wonderful building, Sir Robert McAlpine and their team who built it, our project managers who helped steer us right through the process. So there are many teams, but I think the thing that stands out for me is just how the idea brought people towards it. So having the right idea, being able to sell it as a positive vision, attracted a lot of people to the project. We were very particular that we were setting out to do something that would be authentic, that would be real, that people would recognise as Northumberland, being different and a little bit independent. And I think we've been able to keep that spirit right through the project. Studies are showing fewer people engaging with the countryside, fewer people really understanding how the countryside around them works, and that's a great shame. And as a national park movement, if we're here to do anything, we're here to inspire the next generation and future generations of people to engage with the countryside, have a new relationship with the countryside, and more importantly, have a stake in the countryside. I think all society, we're becoming an increasingly urban society, especially on this small, crowded island. But I think it's really important that everyone has a stake in what the future of our countryside is. So that means they've got to understand what it is, how it works, what the choices about what it might look like and what it might do in future are. That they understand fully the services that the countryside provides for them. Not just their food on their plate, but also maybe why the areas around them flood when it rains heavily, or why it doesn't flood, more importantly, because the services that the countryside is doing in terms of locking up that water and slowing the flow, how the countryside provides for our education, inspiration for artists, for music, and just generally delivering towards what the identity of the country is. And I think if we lose that connection with countryside, then I think we rob future generations of something special. If it inspires people to go beyond what they see in this building, out into the real landscape, to develop a new connection and a new curiosity and a new sense of discovery for themselves, then the Sill will have worked.
It's been a journey from 2012. It's probably been a very exciting project, a dream project for an architect to work on. We heard the design competition advertised, and then we were delighted to be shortlisted to produce a competition design. And we've walked in this area for many years, and we did the steel rig walk, which takes you across the Great Whin Sill and following Hadrian's wall, which just really sparked our enthusiasm. And we wanted something that would sit well within this very sensitive landscape, which is a World Heritage Site. So to the north we have the Great Whin Sill, which is whinstone, a very hard rock which we managed to source from local quarries and placed in gabion baskets. And the forms of the building are more angular on the north side to respond to that drama of the north. The south, in contrast, has a softer rolling feel to it, and there are lots of existing sandstone, dry stone walling in the nearby countryside. We wanted to pick up on that material, but also it picks up on the geological stratas as well of having sandstone and whinstone. So that we felt it was appropriate to have that combination to address the different characteristics of the different aspects of the site. Then the use of timber throughout to give that natural feel with sustainably sourced materials. And then I suppose one of the key features, of course, is the Whin Sill roof, which is planted up with Whin Sill vegetation, so the building really seamlessly rises out of its surrounding landscape, but also gives people the opportunity to view that vegetation close up and develop over time while enjoying the wider views. It's probably the largest public consultation exercise I've ever undertaken. which we were delighted about because we really enjoy that collaborative process, asking people what materials they liked, what types of buildings they liked, where they thought things should be on the site. So we really got a very strong steer from the community of which design they wanted, and this idea of the building being hidden in part of the landscape with a hint of activity and excitement about it. So it's been a very rewarding process, and we're delighted to see it come to this point.